Good evening, Facebook. This is attorney Tim Anderson. It's about 9:15 on Monday night. I wanted to give you a couple of updates about the day. I also wanted to talk about what's next. So, first off, most of the bills that were presented today in the Senate have moved out of the committee onto the Senate to be voted on. But I wanted to talk about something that I've been talking about for a long time, and I've gotten beat up for this quite a bit by people in the 2A community. But what I wanted to reinforce is the message that I have been sending each and every time, which is, as a gun owner, when we have laws that are going to be passed, I would rather those laws be softer than more extreme. Many of you think that the legal system works in lightning speed and in such a way that as soon as laws pass, I'm going to be able to run in court and get these laws turned over. And many of you have sent me the link from the California court that ruled that the high-capacity magazines ban in California was illegal. But I want to talk about that. First off, there is a case in California where a district court judge has ruled that high-capacity magazine bans in California are illegal. Now, that is on appeal to the Ninth Circuit. Equally, there are multiple higher court judges throughout the country who have ruled that high-capacity magazines are legal. So although we have one lone federal court judge in California who has ruled in a way that I think is appropriate, that is by far not the end of the story. And even more important, that California ban has been in place since 2006. And his decision didn't come out till 2019, 13 years. And so when I've been talking about softer bills, what I've been hoping is that we would see some ground shifting in the Virginia General Assembly, that would make some of these more extreme bills softer. And one of the things that we saw today is and I commented about this several weeks ago, but Senator Lucas from Portsmouth passed the universal background check bill. Now, the problem with the universal background check, there's lots of those, and I just did a video about why universal background checks aren't going to really make a big deal and big difference. But one of the big things about the universal background check bill that I took a lot of offense to was that basically you're going to take a transaction that is 100% legal today, and then in July, you're going to make that a felony, make somebody a felon. So doing something 100% legal today, meaning I can sell a firearm to another person, would become a felony after July 1. And what I said in my earlier videos, and feel free to go watch them because I absolutely said this, is that the Democrats are just saying felon, 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 felon. There's not even any escalation in the law. In the law, there is a provision such as if I get charged with felony possession of cocaine, that if it's my first offense, there's a way for me to get out of that and not become a felon in the process. But the Democrat, especially Ms. Lucas in this scenario, has been aggravatedly tempered on wanting to make people felons for something that would otherwise be 100% legal right now in today's time. So what we saw today in Richmond is a Fairfax Democrat, which is surprising, stand up to her and say, hey, I'm a little nervous about calling people felons. And, I've been talking about soft Democrats a lot. I didn't expect a Democrat to pop up from Fairfax that would be soft. But this is a scenario where a Democrat stood up to her and said, hey, I want to make an amendment here, and I don't want to call people felons for doing this. Let's make it a misdemeanor. Now, that's still a pretty serious thing. That could still be something where you go to jail and you could get up to a $2,500 fine. It's still a very big deal, right? But it's not a felony. And so what is that? That is exactly what I've been talking about, which is softening some of these more extreme bills. Now, after that happened, now I don't know if any of you have recorded the 5 p.m. news of Wavy TV 10. I was watching it today because I was actually on the news today and I was looking to see when my story was. But at 5 o'clock today, Wavy TV 10 had a story about the gun bills. It was Andy Fox. And at the end of it was Louise Lucas. And at the end of it, she was mad that the felony provision was taken away. She was actually mad. They interviewed her. She was getting into a car and she said that it wasn't right. And, going from a class 6 down to a class 1, meaning a class 6 felony down to a class 1 misdemeanor. And now it's not going to hold any water and all of this stuff. But she was visibly mad. And I thought, wow, I wish I had that. Now I've gone on Wavy's website and I have not seen anywhere where that has been posted. So if any of you happen to have the 5 o'clock news recorded, please screenshot that and post the video here on this or on Engage Your Government, because it was unbelievable to see her reaction that a Democrat told her, hey, that's a little too much. That's a little too much. She still got everything she wanted. Just the penalty is going to be less than making someone a felon, less than ruining their life for doing something that is 100% legal to do right now. So we're seeing the softening of Democrats. And if we're seeing a Fairfax Democrat soften up a little bit and say, hey, some of these laws are too extreme, then you have to know that the guys like Linwood Lewis out in Accomack County are thinking, hey, I think a lot of these are way too extreme. So it is very important that you continue to engage your government and write to your government. It is very important that you do that. We are in the fight of our lives right now. Laws are coming. They are on the horizon. You're not going to be able to sit back and say, I will not comply and I will resist and all of that, because they're coming and they'll be challengeable, and I'll be challenging them in court, and so will a lot of other lawyers. But it is easier to challenge them when they're softer. Okay, so that is my point. Keep up that work. Now, what also occurred to me is something that happens between me and my wife quite a bit. And that is, she tells me to do something and I do something else and she's mad at me for it. Hey, bring home some dinner, and I bring home a pizza and she's like, I was really thinking more like Thai, that kind of thing. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about, right? The Democrats continue to talk about reasonable common sense gun reform. We just want reasonable common sense gun reform. The voters voted us in on reasonable common sense gun reform. All right. Well, the voters never voted on a specific question. Should we ban AR-15s? Should we have high-capacity magazines? Should we make hundreds of thousands of people illegal in Virginia that lawfully own firearms today? Nobody said that in the election. What the people say when they say they want reasonable common sense gun reform is they see a school shooting, a tragedy like in Parkland, and they look at their government and say, what could you do to make sure that doesn't happen again? What could that be? Now, is making high-capacity magazines illegal, is eliminating an AR-15 going to stop school shootings? What I did is I came up with a plan. I came up with a plan of allowing the sheriff's office to properly train a select few people of every school in Virginia Beach and let them go to an academy and become law enforcement. And when they do that, they would be allowed to have firearms in the school. In the event that a shooter comes in the door, they would be embedded in the school and be able to respond. I'm not going to talk about that plan, okay? I've talked about it enough. It's on my page. I'm going to pitch it to the school board tomorrow. If you want to read about it, it's on this page. It's on Engage Your Government. It's there, okay? But what that does is that is actually a response to what the people are saying. They want something to change. Reasonable common sense gun reform doesn't necessarily mean we need more gun laws. What it means is we have problems that need to find solutions. When my car is broken, I can go get another car, or I could take my car to the mechanic and fix the vehicle, right? We have tools in the law to fix the plan. There are multiple things I have and that I'm going to approach to the local government in Virginia Beach that will hopefully be modeled throughout all of Virginia. Things that actually would make a difference, things that would actually save lives, things that would actually change the dynamics. And I'm asking the Democrats, if any of you are still watching, why don't you reach out to me? Let me share some ideas. If your hearts are really true, that you want to save lives and that you want to make a change, there's ways we can do that right now without making additional laws. It's about revamping the laws that we have, making it easier for retired military to be embedded in schools, making it easy for veterans to work in schools. Right now, we can't do that because you have to be retired law enforcement. Let's change the code. Let's let veterans actually defend schools if they want to and have firearms. There's so many things that we could do that would change lives. Today, my son's school went on lockdown. When I saw that, it made my stomach sick. And when I thought to myself, there are no responsive shooters in his school. He goes to an elementary school. There are none. Is an AR-15 ban going to save his life? If there's an active shooter at his school, is a high-capacity magazine going to ban, is that going to save his life? No. What's going to save his life are people in that school that can respond immediately to an active shooter. Now, fortunately, there was no active shooter at my son's school, but when you get that call as a parent, your heart drops. Are the Richmond Democrats doing anything to materially change protect our kids, protect our schools? They're not. And none of these laws are going to do that. So let's have a real conversation. So what am I saying? I'm going to get to it right now. Politicians do not fear re-election. They do not fear the voters. That's going to change. We've started the Saslaw recall. As soon as we do the Saslaw recall, what happens? They start changing the rules about how to recall politicians. Right now, you only have to get 10% of the voters. Now they're trying to change it to where you have to get 25% of the voters. Why are they doing that? Because they see us trying to recall Dick Saslaw, and they know that they're vulnerable. Recall puts fear back in the hearts of our elected leaders. The idea that they may lose their job and publicly be pulled out of office because they do something that is constitutionally invalid to the citizens of this Commonwealth is something that they don't fear, and they're going to start. Mr. Levine from Alexandria, proponent of 961, you're pretty close to Dick Saslaw district. It wouldn't take me very much to modify a petition and start a recall effort against Mr. Levine. They're in the practically same district. So the elected officials need to fear recall. They need to fear re-election. And we're going to start that. We have big plans in the works, soon to be announced. So anyway, that's it for today. My name's Tim Anderson. I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to be at the Virginia Beach School Board tomorrow. It would mean a lot to me if you would show up. You do not have to talk. I don't want you to talk. It just mean a lot to me if you would show up. Raise your hand and say you support my plan to make Virginia Beach schools safer. It would mean a lot to me. So if you can be there, it's at 6 p.m. on George Mason in Virginia Beach. I'll shake your hand. We'll be friends, and it would mean a lot. So if you can be there, please be there tomorrow. Have a good night, Facebook.